Attention is the most valuable currency in human interaction. Not money. Not status. Not words. Attention. Where attention flows, value grows. And where attention is withdrawn, perception shifts. Most people don't realize how much of their social power is tied to where they place their attention. When you respond quickly, you signal priority. When you explain yourself, you signal investment. When you chase conversation, you signal interest. None of those are inherently weak, but they create emotional positioning. Ignoring someone or withdrawing attention disrupts positioning, because attention is reinforcement, and reinforcement shapes behavior. Psychologically, humans are conditioned by feedback. If I say something and you respond, my brain registers engagement. If I say something and you ignore it, my brain registers uncertainty. Uncertainty triggers thought. Thought increases focus. That's the dark psychological layer. Ignoring someone creates cognitive tension, and cognitive tension increases attention toward the source of tension. Have you ever noticed how much more you think about someone when they stop responding? Not because they insulted you, not because they attacked you, but because they went silent. Silence disrupts expectations. An expectation disruption activates the brain's threat detection systems. The brain asks, why? Did I do something wrong? Are they upset? Did I lose value? And suddenly, the person who withdrew attention became the focal point. This is not manipulation by default. It is human psychology. The absence of validation creates emotional imbalance. Now let's be honest. Have you ever cared less about someone when they were overly available, and cared more when they became less accessible? That shift is attention economics. Scarcity increases perceived value. Abundance decreases urgency. Ignoring someone creates perceived scarcity. Scarcity increases focus. And focus often gets misinterpreted as desire. But here's the nuance. Intentional ignoring used maliciously becomes emotional manipulation. Intentional withdrawal used strategically becomes boundary control. The difference is motive. If you ignore punishment, it damages you. If you ignore it to protect your energy, it stabilizes. And stability shifts power. If you've ever felt the psychological pull of someone who suddenly went silent, comment scarcity. Because scarcity amplifies attention. Being ignored activates something primal. Rejection sensitivity. Social belonging is hardwired into the human nervous system. When someone ignores you, your brain interprets it as social exclusion. And social exclusion triggers the same neural pathways as physical pain. That's why ignoring feels intense. Not dramatic. Deep. It triggers uncertainty. And uncertainty triggers obsession. When someone insults you directly, you can respond. When someone argues with you, you can defend. But when someone ignores you, you have no immediate leverage. Silence removes control. And lack of control increases psychological fixation. The mind tries to solve unfinished patterns. This is called the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished experiences remain mentally active. Ignoring creates an unfinished interaction. No closure. No clarity. Just silence. That silence becomes loud internally. You replay conversations. You analyze tone. You question yourself. And suddenly, the person who withdrew attention occupies your mental space more than when they were present. That is the dark psychology of ignoring. Absence amplifies focus. But here's the balance. This effect is strongest when attention was previously consistent. If someone never cared, ignoring has little impact. But if someone is engaged and then withdraws suddenly, the contrast creates an emotional spike. Contrast magnifies perception. Hot to cold is dramatic. Warm to silent is destabilizing. And destabilization creates obsession. Now think carefully. Have you ever ignored someone unintentionally because you were busy and later discovered they overanalyzed it deeply? That's how powerful silence is. But remember, silence used irresponsibly damages trust. Silence used intentionally to regulate emotion can strengthen respect. Because sometimes ignoring someone is not about punishing them. It's about refusing to feed negativity. Imagine someone provokes you. You respond emotionally. They escalate. Now imagine someone provokes you. You ignore the provocation entirely. No fuel. The behavior dies. Ignoring can be boundary enforcement. It says, I will not engage with this energy. And that communicates control. Control is powerful. If you've ever felt destabilized by someone ignoring you, comment control. Because control is what silence removes and what it gives. Now we need to separate two things clearly. There is mature ignoring, and there is manipulative ignoring. Mature ignoring looks like this. You refuse to engage in disrespect. You withdraw from toxic cycles. You don't respond to emotional bait. You maintain composure. Manipulative ignoring looks like this. You withdraw attention to punish. You use silence to create insecurity intentionally. You disappear to provoke anxiety. One is strength. The other is insecurity disguised as strategy. Dark psychology studies both, but mastery means choosing consciously. Here's the important truth. When you stop responding to behavior that drains you, you reclaim leverage. But when you ignore someone to control them emotionally, you lose integrity. Power without integrity eventually collapses. The goal is emotional sovereignty, not emotional dominance. Let's explore this through an example. Scenario 1. Someone insults you publicly. You respond with anger. You escalate. You give them what they want, reaction. Scenario 2. Someone insults you publicly. You glance. You say nothing. You continue your conversation elsewhere. That silence communicates something powerful. I don't consider this worthy of engagement. And that shifts perception. Now scenario 3. Someone cares about you. You ignore them to teach them a lesson. That damages trust. And trust, once damaged, rarely returns fully. So the dark psychology of ignoring must be understood, not abused. Ignoring is powerful because attention is power. When you withdraw attention calmly, you reclaim control over your energy. But when you withdraw attention vindictively, you erode respect. Have you ever noticed how some people seem unaffected when ignored? That's emotional detachment. And that's a higher form of power. Because the strongest position is not ignoring others. It's being unaffected by being ignored. If this distinction makes sense to you, comment boundary. Because ignoring becomes powerful only when rooted in boundaries. Let's move into relationships. Because this is where ignoring becomes emotionally amplified. Attraction is deeply connected to uncertainty. Not chaos. Not toxicity. But unpredictability. When someone becomes overly available, predictable, constantly responsive, they remove emotional tension. And emotional tension is part of attraction. When someone withdraws attention, even slightly, it creates contrast. Contrast creates awareness. Awareness increases focus. Focus intensifies emotion. This is why people often feel stronger attraction when someone becomes less available. It's not magic. It's contrast psychology. Imagine this scenario. Someone you're interested in replies instantly every time. They validate you constantly. They initiate every conversation. Over time, it becomes predictable. Now imagine they reduce responsiveness. Not disappear. Just reduce. Suddenly, you notice the shift. Your brain asks, did something change? Are they losing interest? Did I misread something? That questioning increases cognitive engagement. And cognitive engagement deepens emotional investment. But here's the key. This only works when the withdrawal is natural and grounded. If it's dramatic, forced, or obviously manipulative, it backfires. People can sense desperation disguised as strategy. The real power of ignoring attraction is not pretending not to care. It's genuinely not chasing. There's a difference. Pretending not to care still carries emotional tension internally. Genuinely not chasing is calm. And calmness is attractive. Let's be honest. Have you ever felt drawn to someone who didn't seem desperate for your validation? Someone who responded, but didn't overextend? Someone who cared, but didn't cling? That balance creates gravity. Ignoring in relationships becomes powerful when it communicates emotional independence. Emotional independence signals, I value you, but I don't need you to regulate my emotions. That message is powerful. Because need creates imbalance. And imbalance weakens attraction. However, ignoring used as punishment destroys trust. If someone withdraws communication to create insecurity deliberately, it damages long-term stability. The difference is subtle. Healthy ignoring equals withdrawing from negativity or overinvestment. Manipulative ignoring equals withholding attention to induce anxiety. One builds respect. The other builds resentment. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever withdrawn just to see if someone would chase? That's insecurity seeking reassurance. True emotional power doesn't require testing. It simply maintains balance. If this section resonates, comment balance. Because balance is where attraction lives. Ignoring becomes extremely powerful during conflict. Because conflict feeds on reaction. When someone attacks verbally, they expect resistance. When someone provokes emotionally, they expect escalation. But what happens when there is no reaction? Silence disrupts escalation patterns. Imagine someone raises their voice. You remain neutral. You don't argue. You don't match the tone. You don't defend immediately. You let them finish. Then you either respond calmly or disengage entirely. That silence shifts power. Because emotional provocation requires emotional payoff. No payoff means no fuel. And without fuel, escalation collapses. This is often called the gray rock principle. You become emotionally uninterested in manipulation. Flat. Neutral. Unresponsive to drama. That doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you don't feed it. There is a psychological discomfort that arises when someone fails to react. The aggressor feels exposed. Because their energy has nowhere to land. And exposed energy often retreats. Now here's something important. Silence during conflict is not about suppressing your voice forever. It's about choosing the right moment to speak. Sometimes silence diffuses tension. Other times, silence communicates boundaries more effectively than words. For example, someone tries to insult you publicly. Instead of arguing, you look at them briefly and continue your previous conversation. No facial reaction. No defensive posture. That moment alone shifts perception in the room. Observers notice composure. Composure commands respect. Overreaction invites judgment. Ignoring during conflict communicates, "I refuse to engage at this emotional level." And that is dominance over self. Self-dominance is what others perceive as strength. Have you ever seen someone win simply by staying calm while others lose control? That's the no-reaction strategy in action. If you've ever wished you could master your reactions like that, comment neutral. Because neutrality wins more conflicts than aggression. Now let's bring this into professional settings. Workplaces are filled with subtle emotional games. Not obvious ones. Subtle ones. People test boundaries through tone. Through dismissive comments. Through passive resistance. If you react emotionally to every slight, your credibility drops. If you ignore every slight intelligently, your stability rises. Imagine someone undermines you in a meeting. They say, "I'm not sure that makes sense." You could defend immediately. Or you could say, "Which part specifically?" Calmly. That's not aggressive. It's controlled. But now imagine something smaller. A sarcastic comment. A dismissive glance. A subtle interruption. Sometimes the most powerful response is none. Not because you're weak, but because you recognize it's beneath engagement. Not everything deserves energy. Energy is finite. And professionals who conserve energy strategically rise faster. Because they don't waste emotional bandwidth. Ignoring minor provocations communicates, "I am not destabilized by this." Over time, that reputation compounds. People learn they cannot easily trigger you. And when people cannot trigger you, they respect you. Now here's a critical distinction. Ignoring does not mean tolerating abuse. If someone crosses a line repeatedly, address it directly. But do not react to every microaggression impulsively. Strategic silence filters nonsense. And filtered nonsense never escalates. Let me ask you, have you ever reacted emotionally at work and regretted it later? Most people have. Ignoring strategically prevents those moments. And prevention preserves authority. If this resonates professionally, comment composed. Because composure is currency in professional environments. Ignoring is powerful. But misused, it becomes destructive. Most people who attempt to use silence as a strategy do it from insecurity and not strength. And insecurity always leaks through behavior. Here's when ignoring backfires. When it's dramatic. When it's inconsistent. When it's clearly meant to punish. When it's fueled by ego. If someone withdraws attention aggressively, suddenly cutting off communication to provoke anxiety, the other person feels manipulation. And manipulation destroys trust. Trust is the foundation of long-term influence. Without trust, silence becomes toxic. Let's examine this clearly. There's a difference between "I'm not engaging with disrespect" and "I'm going to ignore you so you feel insecure." One is boundary enforcement. The other is emotional coercion. The first builds respect. The second builds resentment. People can feel intent. If silence feels like punishment, it triggers defensiveness. If silence feels like calm detachment, it triggers reflection. Intent defines outcome. Another way of ignoring backfires is when it's inconsistent. If you sometimes react dramatically and sometimes ignore, you look unstable. Inconsistency destroys power. Power requires predictability in your standards. You must know what you tolerate and what you do not. Now here's something deeper. If you ignore someone but obsess internally, you haven't actually detached. You've only performed distance. True power is not ignoring someone outwardly while being consumed inwardly. True power is being unaffected internally. That's the real mastery. Ask yourself honestly. Have you ever tried ignoring someone, but secretly checked your phone constantly? That's not power. That's anxious restraint. Power is indifference without performance. And indifference does not require announcement. If this distinction hits, comment intent. Because intent defines power. Strategic ignoring requires emotional discipline. It's easy to react. It's hard to stay centered. When someone provokes you, your nervous system spikes. Your instinct is to respond, to defend, to clarify, to correct. Ignoring that impulse requires control. Control requires awareness. Step 1. Identify what deserves engagement. Not every message requires a response. Not every opinion requires correction. Not every insult requires defense. Emotionally mature individuals choose carefully where they place attention. Attention is energy. Energy is finite. You must guard it. Step 2. Understand your triggers. What makes you react most quickly? Disrespect? Being misunderstood? Feeling excluded? When you know your trigger, you can interrupt it. Step 3. Delay immediate response. Especially digitally. Text messages create artificial urgency. If something triggers you, wait. Let emotion settle. Then decide if a response is necessary. Most emotional mistakes happen in immediate reactions. Step 4. Build internal validation. The more you rely on others to affirm your value, the harder it is to ignore. If someone ignores you and you collapse internally, it means your value was externally anchored. Detached individuals anchor value internally. They don't need constant feedback to feel secure. That internal security allows strategic silence. Now here's something powerful. The highest level of ignoring is not ignoring others. It's being unaffected when ignored. Imagine someone withdraws attention from you. No explanation. No warning. If you spiral emotionally, you lose center. If you remain grounded, you keep leverage. That's the ultimate test. Can you maintain emotional balance when attention disappears? Because real strength isn't in controlling others' focus. It's in not being destabilized when focus leaves you. Ignoring strength looks calm. Ignoring from weakness looks reactive and dramatic. The difference is internal peace. Ask yourself, if someone stopped texting you today, would it destabilize your identity? Or would you continue your life uninterrupted? That answer reveals your emotional dependency level. If you want true power, build internal abundance. Abundance reduces attachment. Reduced attachment increases stability. Stability creates influence. If you're ready to build that internal stability, comment discipline. Because discipline builds detachment. There's a deeper layer to this topic. The real power is not in ignoring someone. It's transcending the need to ignore. When you no longer feel compelled to react or withdraw dramatically, you've reached a higher position. You simply choose. Sometimes you engage. Sometimes you don't. But your choice isn't driven by ego. It's driven by alignment. Emotionally mature people don't use ignoring as a weapon. They use attention selectively. Selective attention is powerful because it reflects priorities. If someone disrespects you repeatedly, you withdraw permanently, not theatrically. If someone behaves positively, you engage warmly, not desperately. That balance communicates strength. Strength does not seek revenge. Strength seeks peace. And peace is unshakable. Imagine this. Someone ignores you to provoke insecurity. You notice. You shrug internally. You continue your life. That calm response destroys manipulation instantly. Because manipulation relies on emotional response. No response means no leverage. And no leverage means no power. The ultimate position is emotional independence. When your emotional state is not tied to others' behavior, you become unmovable. And what unmovable commands respect? Respect built on internal stability lasts longer than respect built on fear. Ignoring is a tool. But emotional sovereignty is the goal. If this makes sense, comment center. Because your center is what must remain intact. Ignoring someone is powerful because attention is power. But the true power lies deeper. It lies in controlling where your attention goes. When you stop reacting impulsively. When you stop feeding negativity. When you stop chasing validation. You shift into a higher emotional position. Silence is not absence. It is control. Control of timing. Control of energy. Control of focus. But remember, silence without integrity becomes manipulation. Silence with integrity becomes strength. The dark psychology of ignoring someone reveals something uncomfortable. Humans crave attention. Remove it, and behavior shifts. But mastery means you don't abuse that knowledge. You apply it responsibly. You ignore disrespect. You ignore emotional bait. You ignore chaos. But you don't ignore genuine connection. You don't ignore responsibility. You don't ignore compassion. Power without compassion is fragile. Power with discipline is stable. And stability wins long term. The highest form of power is this. You are unaffected when attention increases. You are unaffected when attention decreases. You remain centered. And from that center, you choose. If this message shifted your perspective, comment sovereign. Because sovereignty is the final position. Ignoring someone is not about making them chase. It's about refusing to chase negativity. And the moment you refuse to chase, you begin to lead.